Guys, earlier today I heard a big boom. When I say earlier, about an hour ago, and all the utilities went out, and it was such a big boom that I actually thought either somebody hit something that knocked out the power or a bomb or something went off. But it was one of those where I thought there'd be no way the power would come back on, but it came on like 15 minutes later. So apparently it wasn't too bad. Maybe a transformer was temporarily affected or something. It's a little bit windy today. It's been sprinkling off and on. So it's just one of those really beautiful days. I wanted to talk with you guys about this asteroid that's gonna hit in 2032. And I'll talk with you guys about that in a minute. Notice I said is gonna hit. It's not supposed to hit, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. What I wanted to talk with you guys about first is something that is happening all the time here in the US and probably around the world. Apparently, according to the FBI, they estimate that there's probably in the area of 450 serial killers driving our highways in the form of diesel truck drivers all around the country. What's really scary about the truck drivers is that hundreds of them are literally driving across country, and because they're constantly on the move, it becomes that much more difficult and challenging to actually catch them. Heck, to even track them or anything. They even told the story about this one particular trucker named Robert Ben Rhodes, who actually built a torture chamber in his diesel rig. He apparently abducted a 14-year-old girl, strung her up by like fish hooks in the back of his truck, and apparently did horrible things to her all across country for a number of, I don't remember if they said a number of months or a number of years, but could you imagine that being your lot in life, being connected by fish hooks and just tortured by this guy? And then he eventually ended this poor girl's life. Oh my God, what a nightmare. Apparently the people that are at the most risk are sex workers and prostitutes. And apparently they like to call prostitutes the lot lizards. By the way, I knew that before. You guys probably have heard of the term lot lizard as well. I did not know that the government and the FBI thinks that there's in the area 450 serial killers on the road. But that just goes to show you, those truckers that are constantly driving down the freeway, they might not be the best person to mess with, you know? Again, that reminds me of Duel. If you guys ever saw Duel, that's where a truck is literally chasing down, I think his name is Dennis Quaid, one of these old-time actors. Good movie though, I still think you guys should check it out. But what do you guys think about that? Whenever you think of a serial killer, you think of like Jack the Ripper, or who was the blonde guy that killed a lot of gay black men in the 90s, Jeffrey Dahmer. You think of people like Dahmer and Jack the Ripper. You don't really, at least I didn't really think of the guy in the diesel big rig, you know, heading down the highway. But if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Here's what doesn't make sense to me. If the FBI thinks there's in the area of 450 serial killers driving trucks, it seems to me like they should all be interviewed at one point or another, right? Certainly there's got to be some eyeballs on them. Now, if you're driving for a company, more than likely your truck is being tracked at all times. So if you do anything weird or off the radar, or off the path that you're supposed to take, it probably looks pretty odd, right? You're supposed to go north on this particular highway and all of a sudden you make a left or a right turn for miles on end. I can imagine that that's something that would raise a red flag. The problem, according to the FBI, is that there's a lot of private trucking companies out there where they're not really monitored at all. What a scary situation. I still feel bad for that 14-year-old girl, don't you guys? There's certain things that you don't like to hear about people going through. Torture is one of those things. And I think when you hear about it being a 14-year-old or a 90-year-old, you don't want it to happen to either of them, right? Just like that one 14-year-old boy that attacked the 91-year-old woman that we spoke about the other day. Nobody likes that. But when something bad happens to a 14-year-old, we all can remember when we were 14. It was probably our freshman year of high school. We might have even still have been in junior high. The point I'm trying to make is that we were only a couple years away from being legitimate elementary kids. And I just don't like the idea of people that young going through such an ordeal. Does that mean you like the older people going through that ordeal? No. But I think some of us are a little bit more able to take those tortures than the innocent little ones and the innocent elderly. The elderly, at least you can say, my goodness, she lived 90 years before she had to go through this crap. With the 14-year-old, my God, they're babies. I'm itching to talk with you guys about this asteroid, but stay with me. Let's go through a couple comments about the drivers. Because with the asteroid, there's a good chance it's not going to hit us. But with these serial killers, obviously, they're taking out their victims potentially each and every day in this country, right? At BNWO says, this has been known for decades. Okay, I got to be honest. When you think of serial killers, like I said, my thoughts were on the Jeffrey Dahmers and the Jack the Rippers of the world, right? I really was not thinking about people in diesel trucks. Could I imagine one or two of them? Yes. Could I imagine 450 of them at any point in time, every single day here in the country? No, I couldn't. Oh my God, here's one of them now. Oh my God. That could have been a serial killer taking me out. What was funny is he saw my camera and purposely hit on his gas to be loud. I can feel it. No, that's just a tow truck. I don't know, is that still considered? No, that's just a tow truck. That's not considered a diesel. Jesse, come on. Miss K _ LA Trailers. This was a really good comment here. There's a reason why the FBI has its own department for these particular crimes. When I'm on the road, I keep to myself. I don't even say hi to my other fellow truckers. Stay safe out there. So that sounds to me like a female trucker, right? And she has probably been on some quiet back roads throughout her days driving truck, and she's probably seen some suspect stuff. And I don't blame her. I would rather be solitary and nobody know where I'm at than just letting potential bad people know exactly where I'm at. Now, with that being said, you should always let somebody that you trust know where you are at all times. So back to what I was saying, guys, I would have never guessed there was 450 of them. You can do the math. That means that there's what, 8 or 9 of them in every single state at all times, just looking for potential victims. This is why I think we very rarely see hitchhikers nowadays. As a matter of fact, if you were to ask me, Jesse, when was the last time you saw a hitchhiker? I would probably have to go back 15 or 20 years. And what's crazy about that is that was the only one I've seen in like the last 30 or 40 years. But when I was a little boy, I can remember constantly seeing people with their thumb in the air trying to hitchhike. Do you guys remember that back in the 70s and 80s? And I'm sure even before then, if you're a little older, hitchhiking was like a well-known, pretty popular thing. You know, you start taking a couple of these people out and all of a sudden, you know, they don't want to hitchhike anymore. That's probably one of the good advances that we've done over the past handful of decades, is we've gotten rid of hitchhiking. If you're a person really hard up and you have to hitchhike, you got to remember, people always say, don't pick up hitchhikers. So if anyone's going to pick you up, they already feel confident that they can take you. So again, be careful if you have to hitchhike, ladies. At James Kennedy, this was a great comment. It says, if the lot lizards, the prostitutes, were advised to snap a photo of the license plate and truck and text it to someone before getting in the truck, you might catch at least a couple of these. See, that's one of those where, heck, if somebody was attacking me inside of their truck, I would actually show them the phone and say, I already sent your license plate and truck and this live broadcast to my family. They're gonna get you. You better stop this truck and let me out right away. You know, that's the type of thinking that these type of comments bring me to. There are some safeguards you can do. Is it gonna keep a crazy person from ending your life? Not necessarily, but at least it'll put an end to their long-term plans of doing this over and over again. This kind of goes back to what we were saying the other day as well, when it came to people ripping people off. When you start to do something once or twice and you get away with it, pretty soon you start to think, hey, I can get away with this all the time. I can eat this cookie every day. No one's gonna notice. Yes, they will, Jesse. Okay, yes, they will. Yes, they will. But you see how getting away with it once or twice, all of a sudden you become a serial unaliver. All of a sudden you become a serial thief, right? I don't even know if that's an expression, but you know what I mean. All of a sudden you're trying to they give you an inch, you take a mile. At James Starkey, 1508 says, there could also be hundreds of law enforcement serial killers out there, never getting caught as nobody is even looking for them. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a movie where a cop was a serial killer. Have you guys? I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there's one movie out there. And I'm sure in real life, I'm sure over the last 300 or 400 years here in the US, there's probably been a couple of these type of people in law enforcement. The scary thing is, what if there's hundreds of these people? What if almost every single person out there that's ever taken a life, what if they've almost all taken more than one and we just haven't found their victims yet? What does this country do when people go missing? We start blaming aliens and UFOs instead of these crazy people that are out there. That's what makes us here in the US so goofy. We believe in interplanetary and outer planetary beings doing horrible things to us, and we forget about the truck driver and the policeman down the street. This one's kind of scary. Your boy Rookus says, I drove trucks on the road and I could tell some of these drivers aren't right in the head. That's what's kind of creepy about some people that aren't all there. You can almost tell right away when you're talking to somebody, like, hey, this dude is really nutso. He's not, you know, playing with a full deck. He's totally out in left field, right? There's a lot of times when you're talking to people and you can feel that. What's scary about serial killers is they probably seem very normal, and they probably seem like the guy next door, because I remember when Jeffrey Dahmer was actually questioned by some police in his complex, he had an Asian guy that he was trying to assault. And if you remember, the Asian guy somehow got out, went up to the police, but because they couldn't really understand him, and apparently he looked so young, the police, do you guys remember this? They actually took the little Asian guy back to Jeffrey Dahmer. And because Jeffrey Dahmer could speak, he's like, yeah, it's just a homosexual squabble, nothing major. And the cops left the Asian guy with Jeffrey Dahmer, and I think he ended up taking out the Asian guy. Could you imagine escaping from that monster, going up to the cops, and then having them return you? Oh my God, that sounds almost like a comedy skit. That's so awful. Okay, so here's one of these people that's still upset that Orange Man won. I am satisfied, says, that's their name, I am satisfied, says, I'm way more concerned about politicians than truck drivers. That's probably somebody that's upset at the Orange Man. Come on, let it go. Let it go. Okay, now we get to talk about the fun stuff. There's an asteroid the size of the Statue of Liberty that a couple days ago had a 1% chance of making contact and colliding with the Earth in 2032. Today I look up some video on it, and apparently they have raised the percentage from 1% to 2.3%. In other words, it's kind of like having a deck of cards. You've got a 1 in 45 chance of that thing hitting the Earth. What I want to know is what made them double their numbers in just the past couple of days. I have a feeling that if that bad boy was actually going to hit us, they probably wouldn't tell us. Think about this. If they came out and said that in 2032 this thing's going to hit the Earth and it's going to be catastrophic, there's probably a lot of us that would stop funding our 401ks. There's a lot of people that would probably cash out their IRA, and there's a lot of people that would probably just quit doing much of anything. And that would actually be even more catastrophic than the asteroid. Now, supposedly this thing is the size of the Statue of Liberty. I have never, ever in the past heard us talking about an asteroid in a movie and saying, oh, it's only the size of the Statue of Liberty, and if it hits us, it's gonna take out a city, but that's all. No, they always make it sound like if something the size of a bus hit us, it would take out a city. They always make it sound like if something's huge, like the Statue of Liberty, that would probably do a lot of damage. I think they're underplaying it. I don't think it would take out a city. I think it would take out a country. I'm probably wrong, of course. Just for fun, I should try hitchhiking, huh? I'll hitchhike and be like, hey, can someone give me a ride? They'll be like, oh my God, that's the friendly YouTube guy in the neighborhood. I'm sure he's safe. We can give him a ride. Apparently this asteroid is called 2024 YR4. Here's the thing that scares me. The percentage went from 1% to 2.3. It's the size of the Statue of Liberty. I think they said it's like 50 meters wide or something, you know, some pretty good sized rock, right? And they said that it's gonna hit, get this, December of 2032. How the hell do they know so much about it? And I know what you're gonna say, Jesse, they measure it and then they measure it again and they slowly but surely make predictions on where it's gonna go the next time they measure it, yada, yada. But here's the thing. If they're gonna be able to predict it that well, then they probably already know where it's gonna hit. I think it's weird that they went from 1% to 2.3. I have a feeling it is gonna hit us. And supposedly, even if it misses us and hits the moon, supposedly even that could be catastrophic. So let's go back to dreams. This is no joke. When I was 11 or 12, and I know this because I was playing soccer on a team. I was a soccer player, guys. Back when I was 11 or 12, I actually had a dream where I was on the soccer field looking up at the moon, and instantly something hit the moon and it turned like blood red. Now, I've let this dream go because it happened so long ago. I don't remember if it was the sun colliding with the moon or something hitting the moon, but I just remember the moon turned red and then it kind of like exploded, or a chunk of it kind of broke off. Really, really real seeming dream. I've had a lot of weird dreams. A lot over the course of, 48 years. On the course of an average year, God, I probably only have half a dozen or so that I actually remember. If you guys are the same way where you don't really remember hardly any of your dreams, let me know down below. Okay, so here's my question for you. You're the President of the United States, and you're having an impromptu meeting with all the leaders of the world, literally all of them. It's that important, right? So you're there talking to everybody, and the scientists from everyone's country have basically concluded that, hey, this thing is gonna hit us. We can downplay it, but it really is the big rock that's gonna end everything on Earth. We have 8 years, we can prepare, but think about this, strategy-wise, you would have to prepare in a way where you didn't freak everybody out. In other words, you can't tell people. Because of what I said earlier, people would quit their job, people would quit investing, everything would kind of go to shit really quick, right? Do you guys think, strategically speaking, that's how it would happen? Maybe that's why you have all these rich people building bunkers underground, because where you and I have to rely on the internet, maybe they can actually spend lots of money on top-notch scientists and they can actually figure out that, yes, this thing is going to hit us in 2032. Go underground. We're going to be able to survive. We'll come up 6 to 12 months later once everything has settled, and then we'll be able to repopulate the earth and the whole 9 yards. Oh my God, that would be heavy duty. In other words, what I'm saying is, even if they knew it was going to hit us, could they afford to tell us? I don't think they could afford to tell us. Now, see, this is different than an alien, though. If aliens were going to come visit, yes, I suppose there's a chance they're going to blow us up or they're going to, take over, right? But more than likely, people would look forward to them potentially visiting. Nobody looks forward to an asteroid potentially hitting the Earth. But I do. Oh my God, how exciting will that be? Here's the crazy thing. If you don't know where exactly it's going to hit, then why are they telling us it'll hit anywhere from South America over the Atlantic into the India region? How the heck do you know where it's going to hit if it does hit? Because if you're doing it based on math, then you probably already have a good idea that is where it's going to hit. And I'm telling you, they were saying every excuse in the book. They were like, hey, most of the earth is water. Most of the terrain where there is land is unpopulated. They were making every excuse in the book why it's no big deal. But I think it is a big deal. I think if it hits any bit of water, it's going to cause tsunamis in all 4 directions. I think if it hits on land, it's probably going to cause a fireball and an earthquake like none of us have ever felt before. And I think wherever it did hit would be really up Schitt's Creek. Did I ever tell you guys? Because I told you that it's almost like a deck of cards. We have a 1 in 45 chance of getting hit by this asteroid. One time I was on this website called Poker Stars, and it was playing online poker. And as you play poker games, you slowly but surely acquire like points. And I cashed in some of these points for a deck of Poker Stars cards. They sent me this deck of cards instead of them sending me a brand new untouched deck of cards. They sent me a deck that had been played with before, but supposedly it had been played at one of their Poker Stars actual in-person tournaments somewhere around the world. So I get this deck of cards, and they were clean, don't get me wrong, they were just a used deck. And me and my wife, we would have poker games, and we would play cards every Tuesday with the neighbors and some friends. Everybody would throw in $40, and then the winner would take all, and I think second place got their money back. It was one of those type deals. And we had some pretty good games. We would average around 8 or 9 players. What's crazy about this deck of cards, and I'm not joking, I really felt like this deck of cards was maybe a little bit haunted. The chances of you getting a straight flush or a royal flush are exceptionally low. And one time I was in this hand with our neighbor and friend named Melissa, and she got, this is no joke guys, she got a straight flush. She got like a 4 of hearts all the way up through, or excuse me, like a 6 of heart all the way up to the 10 of hearts, okay? I had the ace king of hearts, and the way it played out, we ended up both getting flushes, but here's the thing, she got a straight flush, I got a royal flush. That stuff never happens, and you're thinking, Jesse, that doesn't mean the deck is haunted. And it doesn't, but that's still weird. The other crazy thing that happened was with that same deck, One time I was at my poker table, and yes, at one time I owned a really nice poker table, believe it or not. And I said, give me a sign. And I put down the cards. I put down 5 of them, just like you would in an actual poker game where you burn the 4th card and then you know, the whole 9 yards. Guys, it came up a straight. It was like ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the odds that you would literally deal out 5 cards and it would be a straight right after you said, give me a sign? Does that mean that God is a trickster God and likes card games? No, it probably means it was haunted by a ghost or the devil himself. But either way, there was something really trippy about that deck of cards. Again, imagine just saying out loud, show me a sign, and then imagine putting out 5 cards and it's 4 aces and a king. You know, there's certain patterns that would definitely make you feel like, my God, that's a sign. So here's the sign that I'm giving you. No one is guaranteed tomorrow. Why don't you keep walking and join us and walk every single day? We're not walking just for shits and giggles. We're walking so we can extend our life and be healthy, and we want you to join us. So subscribe, become a venter, and let's walk with each other every day for the rest of our lives. I'll see you tomorrow.